What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? I would like to welcome you all to another edition of Wayne's Perspective, where we operate in discipline, decency, integrity, and respect. All right, so I'm coming at you all with another reaction video. Now, this one is going to be interesting. I am going to touch on 4 videos inside this one video of mine. So definitely an extended reaction video. 3 of these videos are going to come from MSNBC, and then the last video is going to come from Roland Martin. So basically, what's going to be the topic of discussion here is the Supreme Court and what basically happened when the immunity case came before them regarding Donald Trump. So that's what we're going to talk about. And like I said, of course, I am going to give my thoughts here, but these videos pretty much, say it all, and I definitely wanted to react to them, so we're going to go ahead and get started. So like I said, the Supreme Court, a lot is going on. So these videos are going to say a lot, but I'm going to come back with my thoughts and then we're going to go from there. So I'm going to get my screen shared and we're going to start with the first video. And again, fair usage for all 4 videos, fair usage. And let's go ahead and get this started, shall we?
The appeals court proceedings made headlines across the country after one of the 3 appellate judges who heard the appeal asked Trump's lawyer in court a shocking hypothetical about whether he could order the assassination of a political rival and really not be charged for it. Trump's counsel said, indeed, that was their position. So all of the federal judges who reviewed Trump's audacious immunity claim, all of them have seemed not just disinclined to go along with it, they have seemed shocked by it. And their clarion decisions, again, at the trial court level and at the appellate level, their clarion decisions against him on this immunity question really seemed like they would be the last word. But with this Supreme Court, never say never. The United States Supreme Court sat on this issue for weeks and then finally announced that they wanted to take this case themselves.
And let me stop it right there. They really shouldn't have took this case to begin with, because no president should be immune from prosecution, but apparently because it's Donald Trump, it's not an option, whereas, Biden is definitely not going to get that option. Obama didn't get it. Bush 43 didn't get it. Clinton didn't get it. Bush 41 didn't get it. Reagan didn't. Carter, Johnson, Kennedy, Nixon, Ford, and even further back. So this all of a sudden, this becomes a thing because Trump said so, right? Okay.
They announced they would take it today, what is probably the latest possible day on which they could have scheduled these arguments. To the extent that Trump's best defense tactic is delay, the Supreme Court has already been an excellent accomplice in that defense. Even with that backdrop, the arguments today were legitimately, I think, stunning. Trump's counsel was grilled for about an hour. The counsel for prosecutor Jack Smith and the Justice Department was grilled for nearly twice that amount of time. But almost immediately at the start of proceedings, under questioning from Justice Sonia Sotomayor, we got confirmation that the appeals court hypothetical, that crazy hypothetical about Trump being able to assassinate his political enemies and never be charged for it, we got confirmation right at the start that that was not a fluke. President Trump, in fact, maintains, and his lawyers maintain, that he really is immune from prosecution, specifically for killing his political rivals.
And think about that, immune from prosecution. Now, I guarantee you, if you peel this back further, they only want to, he will only look at that for himself. Will any of these people be okay with this, being extended towards other presidents, especially those from the opposing party? No. Only I can do it because I say so. That's the thinking here. Weird thinking, irresponsible thinking. Dangerous thinking. But let's continue on.
I'm going to give you a chance to say if you stay by it. If the president decides that his rival is a corrupt person and he orders the military or orders someone to assassinate him, is that within his official acts that for which he can get immunity?
It would depend on the hypothetical, but we can see that could well be an official act.
It could.
Now, let me stop right here. That guy, that Trump attorney is now, okay, I'm not one to talk about somebody's voice because even my own voice, I don't like the way I sound recorded, but apparently others say I sound good. You know, let me know what you think about that on the side note, but I don't like the way I sound recorded, but you know, as I continue to find my voice, maybe that may change. But this attorney, his voice is just so cringe. And then he talks so fast, and you have to know why he talks fast the way that you do, basically in an effort to come off like he's the smartest guy in the room, but also trying to, you know, like trip you up, you know, from on a verbal level, you know. Just listen on.
And why?
That could be an official act, really. He might officially, as part of his presidential duties, want to kill his domestic political rival. And if it's an official act, Trump's lawyers say, well, he's immune from prosecution for that. So in other words, yes, we think he should be able to do that. Anything else you want to clarify that he should be able to do? It turns out quite a bit, actually. It's not just assassinating his individual domestic political opponents. It's worse than that. Over to you, Justice Kagan. Again, here questioning Trump's counsel, John Sauer.
If a president sells nuclear secrets to a foreign adversary, is that immune?
That sounds like similar to the bribery example, likely not immune. Now, if it's structured as an official act, he would have to be impeached and convicted first before.
What does that mean if it's structured as an official act?
Well, I don't know in the hypothetical whether or not that would be an official act. You probably have to have more details to apply the blazing game analysis or even the Fitzgerald analysis that we've been talking about.
How about if a president orders the military to stage a coup?
I think that, as the Chief Justice pointed out earlier, where there is a whole series of, you know, sort of guidelines against that, so to speak, like the UCMJ prohibits the military from following a plainly unlawful act. Now, if one adopts, for example, the Fitzgerald test that we advanced, that may well be an official act, and he would have to be, as I'll say in response to all these kinds of hypotheticals, has to be impeached and convicted before he can be criminally prosecuted. But I emphasize to the court that—
Well, he's gone. Let's say this president who ordered the military to stage a coup, he's no longer president. He wasn't impeached. He couldn't be impeached. But he ordered the military to stage a coup, and you're saying that's an official act.
I think it would depend.
That's immune.
I think it would depend on the circumstances whether it was an official act. If it were an official act, again, he would have to be impeached.
Well, what does that mean, depend on the circumstances? He was the president. He is the commander in chief. He talks to his generals all the time, and he told the generals, I don't feel like leaving office. I want to stage a coup. Is that immune?
If it's an official act, there needs to be impeachment and conviction beforehand, because the framers viewed that kind of—
If it's an official act, is it an official act?
If it's an official act, it's impeachment.
Is it an official act?
On the way you described that hypothetical, it could well be. I just don't know. You'd have to, again, it's a fact-specific, context-specific determination.
That answer sounds to me as though it's like, yeah, under my test, it's an official act, but that sure sounds bad, doesn't it?
Well, it certainly sounds very bad, and that's why the framers have a whole series of structural checks that have successfully, for the last 234 years, prevented that very kind of extreme hypothetical.
All in all, ladies and gentlemen, it's Trump. He can do whatever he wants, plain and simple. But nobody else will get that privilege, if you will. That's the thing here, you know, and it's crazy.
Has that extreme hypothetical always been prevented? But yes, Your Honor, that certainly, quote, sounds very bad. You can see where he's going at the end of this, though, right? When he calls that an extreme hypothetical, this is an important part, I believe, of how today's proceedings went. Trump's lawyer and most of the conservative justice today carried on with these proceedings at the Supreme Court as if it is just a wild hypothetical, just a crazy pipe dream, like a Martian scenario, that a president might try a coup. might try to use force to stay in power after he was voted out. Yeah, who could ever imagine something like that? Trump's lawyer today called that unlikely. He specifically called it, and I quote, very, very unlikely as a scenario today.
That is the wisdom of the framers, what they viewed as the
And y'all, I apologize, but bless this guy's heart. Like I say, his voice is just, oh my God, man.
risk that needed to be guarded against was not the notion that the president might escape, a criminal prosecution for something, sort of very, very unlikely in these unlikely scenarios. They viewed much more likely and much more destructive to the republic, the risk of factional strife discussed by George Washington.
Framers did not put an immunity clause into the Constitution. They
Right, they sure
knew
did.
how to. There were immunity clauses in some state constitutions. They knew how to give legislative immunity. They didn't provide immunity to the president. And, not so surprising, they were reacting against a monarch who claimed to be above the law. Wasn't the whole point that the president was not a monarch?
Hello.
The whole point of, America, why we're a country. Justice Elena Kagan there with Trump counsel John Sauer. Basically, what he's saying there is the idea of anyone actually trying a coup to stay in power, a president trying that's crazy. That's crazy. That's so extreme. We don't have to worry about a hypothetical like that. It's really partisan strife. It's really conflict between political parties. That's the biggest risk to the country, not this crazy idea of a potential coup. Justice Kagan there responding by basically saying, yeah, okay, also, but maybe tyranny, maybe a tyrant, unbound by law, running the country with impunity. Maybe that would be bad for us too. Maybe that's why we were actually formed as a constitutional republic. As a general matter, it is folly to extrapolate from oral arguments and say that you know how the ruling will come down based on the comments from the justices when the case was heard. With that caveat, though, it seemed clear today that the most conservative justices were inclined to side with Trump, not just on a technicality, but possibly on the substance.
Right.
Justice Clarence Thomas suggesting today that presidents are always committing crimes. Shout out to Operation Mongoose from.
And look, check this here. Okay, that reasoning is dangerous on its face, but okay, president commits crimes. Okay, that doesn't make it right. Let's continue on, y'all.
Justice Clarence Thomas today. Justice Brett Kavanaugh and Justice Samuel Alito today describing prosecutors and judges and even grand juries of citizens in terms that would be right at home in a Trump social media feed about how there isn't really a rule of law in this country and that what looks like our supposed legal system is really just corrupt people who are out to get Donald Trump.
See, look, let me tell y'all something. I mean, these people are just so hyper partisan. It's not even funny, man. I mean, being down for your party is one thing, but like I said, these guys are just so damn partisan. They probably can't even see straight. I mean, my Lord. I mean, Jesus Christ. If it sounds like I'm speechless, I am. Like I said, they're just so hyper partisan, man.
The conservative justices today were absolutely and consistently unwilling to discuss Trump's alleged crimes as laid out in the indictment that led to this case, to the point that it became almost a comedic, gymnastic effort at avoidance.
And speaking of the comedic element, when I was listening to this particular video today, as well as the next ones that I'm going to be talking about, I started thinking, is this a serious matter, or is this like a serious judicial troll job? I mean, let me know. Let me know what y'all think. Because if all it look, this is the Supreme Court, so it should be serious. But if this is done in an effort to quote unquote own the libs, then I mean, what does that tell you? So, like I said, either this is a serious thing, a serious matter, or this is a judicial troll job here, and we're all witnessing it in real time.
Between Justice Alito and the lawyer for special counsel Jack Smith.
If the court has concerns about the robustness of it, I would suggest looking at the charges in this case. They
Well, I'm going to talk about this in the abstract.
conspiracies to defraud the United States with respect to one of the most important functions, namely the certification of the next president.
Well, I don't want to dispute
Right.
that particular application of that
Why not?
371 conspiracy to defraud the United States. So the particular facts here.
It's difficult to think of a more critical function than the certification of who won the election.
You know, I'm not, as I said, I'm not discussing the particular facts of this case.
Stop with the facts. Stop. Do not tell me about the things that whoever your client is did,
Right.
or the things in the indictment of whoever your client is that led to this case, whatever it's about. I want to speak purely in the abstract, as if the particular facts of this case, the particular facts of what Donald Trump did, are actually just an unimaginable, extreme hypothetical that I don't need to engage with.
Exactly. It's crazy.
The not consensus, but I think widely held view of today's proceedings at the United States Supreme Court is that the conservatives on the court will likely succeed in using this case to further and fatally delay criminal court proceedings against Donald Trump before the election in November. Rather than reject his claims of immunity from prosecution, like all the federal judges who have considered this matter before them have done, they instead will carve out some newly specified class of actions that are immune from prosecution if you're a president. And they will invent a test for deciding what counts as that kind of action by a president. And then they will send Trump's indictment, Trump's federal January 6th case, back through a whole new cycle in the lower federal courts to run his attempted overthrow of the government through the court's newly invented legal test that they are going to make for him in this case. Which, yes, will take forever, because in the meantime, of course, he will get a chance to get back into the White House in order to shut the whole thing down. And in the meantime, the American people will be asked to go and vote on whether he should take that seat again in the White House without knowing what federal prosecutors have found and believe is criminal about his conduct when he tried to overthrow the government to stay in office the last time.
All right, so let me stop it right there. But yeah, this is crazy. I mean, I was going to save this for one of the next videos I'm going to talk about, but I said this before, and I'm going to say it again. You know what? I think it just seems like Trump has this, at Mar-a-Lago or wherever, he has this elaborate Trump Center where he's watching everything that all of these guys do. And I'm talking about the conservatives on the Supreme Court, the Republican state legislatures across the country, the Republican governors, and the House Republicans and the Senate Republicans. He just has this big network of, you know, like I said, a big network where he's watching any and everything that these guys are doing. I really do feel like that is the case. Now, is it likely? No, but it does seem like it. You know, scared to death, scared to look, they shook. Because our boy Trump ain't no such crook. I mean, that's the thinking here. Now, for my hip hop heads, pardon me for throwing the Mobb Deep classic in here for that, but I mean, that's the case. You know, scared to death, scared to look, they shook. All of them. You know, the same cats who fought Obama tooth and nail, but you want to back down like scared roaches when it comes to Donald Trump. Give me a break. Moving on to the next video, y'all. All right. So we're going to continue on. And again, fair usage. Right. Bingo. See, look at this. Look at this. So you see this line of thinking here. So the quote unquote bad guys, the villains here, is the Justice Department for having the gall to bring this up. And then the thinking that January the 6th wasn't a big deal. It wasn't okay. I don't care if this ruffle any feathers. All right. Check this here. So January the 6th wasn't a big deal, quote unquote, because of who perpetrated and who was there and who rioted and did all that stuff. But it would be a big deal if it was a series of people like us or a series of Muslims doing it. Then it would have been a bloodbath. You see, it would have been a big deal then. You know, it would have been cool for the Justice Department to bring the case then because it's black people, it's Muslims perpetrating it. But it's 98% white men and women. So it's not a big deal. Or did it become less of a big deal because it's been talked about, often on the level of 9/11? Is that what this is about? That's what we're doing here? It's crazy. Right. Yeah, shout out to her. Of course. See what I mean? Scared to death, scared to look, they shook. Almost like Trump didn't exist. Like, and why even take the damn case? And speaking of messy, let me jump back a little bit. Let me go back to 2022. Yeah, 2022. Now, you see how they like dancing around it. They don't want to mention Trump's name. They barely even want to talk about him, even though he's a large part of the reason why they took this case. But I think back to 2022 when the whole Roe v. Wade thing was coming up, and there was some interviews out there where I think it was Alito and Clarence Thomas they had gave some interviews pretty much saying, you know, and I'm paraphrasing a bit, that they weren't going to be bullied when it came to whatever decisions they were going to make regarding Roe v. Wade. And I'm like, the arrogance. But apparently, y'all being bullied now because, you know, you barely want to even talk about Trump. It's like, okay, if you don't want to talk about it, or if you refuse to address that head on, why take the damn case? It's a waste of damn time. Exactly. Shout out to him. Shout out to Jamie Morant. I'm gonna let that slide. I really don't like it when they say SCOTUS. I really don't like that. But let's continue, y'all. Listen to this, y'all. Yep. And you worrying about the credibility of the court, but then you do this mess. Like, give me a break, man. That's straight bullshit, y'all. Excuse me, but straight bullshit. Man, oh man, it just gets worse and worse. But I mean, this is crazy, man. So I didn't really have any additional thoughts outside of what I mentioned in that particular video. So we can move right to video number 3, y'all. Now, you see how Chief Justice pretty much put the kibosh on that, but everything that dude said was on point 100%. I mean, where's the arguments with what he said? Everything he said was legit, everything he said was accurate. Everything. And then, of course, Chief Justice Roberts steps right on in. And I can't even believe that we're like on the verge of, even discussing and debating that as a legit question here. Yep. Right. Exactly. Bang. Good question. Good question. Right. Exactly. Exactly. Again, shout out to Mrs. Ketanji Brown Jackson. I mean, everything she said, again, just like the man in the early part of the video, was spot on, you know. So up until now, presidents had to operate within the confines of the law, the Constitution, you know, normal stuff. But now we get to this clown. Yeah, I'm calling him a clown. Now we get to him. So all of a sudden, this guy can do whatever he wants, right? Because he's Donald Trump. That's where we at. Hello. And think about that for a second. Now, of course, now Democrats wouldn't take advantage of that, but leave it to the Republicans, you know, because the Republicans gonna, you know, they're gonna pick the stupidest ideas to copy, no matter how immoral or insane or dangerous they may be. Just remember that, y'all. And then see the thing. Well, no, I'm gonna save that thought. Right. Right. Now, everybody has been making some good points. And again, I've had my recent issues with Joy Reid, but what she said was spot on right there. Yep. Yeah, man. It's crazy. Like I say, either this is a serious issue or we're in the midst of some judicial trolling here. Never thought I would say such a thing. So now we're going to move to the fourth and final video here, courtesy of Roland Martin. And again, fair usage, fair usage. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Shouldn't have took the case and he should have recused himself. But you know how they do. They expect you to recuse yourself when it comes to something that somebody else may be involved in, but they don't got to do a damn thing. Do what I say, not you know the saying. Right. Right. That guy's voice, I swear, man. And check this here. If you're going to have that feeling of being quote unquote constrained, then maybe you shouldn't be in this role. Okay. Right. It's crazy. Yeah. Check this out, y'all. Now, I agree with a lot of what she said, but the last part, I don't think they're going to go in Trump's favor. If I have to offer a prediction, I do think it's going to be a 5-4 decision, even though it should be unanimous across the board, but it's not going to be. So I do think it's going to turn out to be 5-4. I think I'd be surprised if it's different. And side note, Miss Nola, she's cute. She looked good, y'all. But let me continue on. Just wanted to throw it out there. It is. That's important. That's an important point. And to the best of my recollection and my knowledge, it wasn't like that prior to Trump coming into office. Because yes, you did get your judges who had those liberal and conservative leanings, but it wasn't a point of discussion until he came along. So now the way people view judges is probably going to be like that for the next several decades. And it's crazy because previously it wasn't like that, you know. Exactly. Yep. Plain view. Yep. And let me stop right there. So yes, plain view, plain sight. Yes, it was all out there. And then of course, I guarantee you there was some people out there. Oh, he wouldn't do such a thing. He wouldn't act this way. He wouldn't act that way. He wouldn't make this decision. He wouldn't make that decision. And when shit happens, then you want to be surprised. But I digress, y'all. Right. As soon as possible. Exactly. Yep. Right. Listen to this. Yep. Yep. Exactly. See, I agree with that 100%. See, that's what I'm talking about. Voting has consequences. Yeah, that's another layer of the discussion here. But yes, that's what we're faced with right there. You know, don't say it doesn't matter. Or don't try to celebrate or be smug about. I'm gonna sit at home. I'm not gonna vote. When I mean, these are real issues here. And I'm not trying to minimize everything else, but this is what we're up against. Once again, you know, and then I have and before we move on and close with Greg Carr's comments, it takes me back to last year. Like I said, I won't mention the YouTube show's name. I won't mention it, but I was listening to it, and there was some type of political discussion going on, and one of the guys, he was a brother, you know, he had just nonchalantly said, at the end, he was like, in regards to Trump, I hope he get back in for real. Like, dude, really? And then after that, I was done with that particular channel. I mean, he just nonchalantly said it. So all of this, it doesn't matter. It's all a case of sticking it to the Democrats, or the Democrats made me mad, so this is how I'm gonna move, or whatever your line of thinking is. I mean, that's where we at. you know, I hope he get back in for real. Like, dude, please. Yeah, I agree. And the Bay of Pigs disaster had nothing to do with this. So why even bring that up? Yep. All right, y'all. So yeah, so we at the end right there. But yeah, this is crazy. I'm not surprised that this is where we are. So I'll end on this note with one single question that was proposed by Joe Scarborough the day after January 6, 2021. Are we a nation of laws or are we a nation of one man? Again, are we a nation of laws or are we a nation of one man? And I'll leave it at that. I've already contributed my thoughts. I have nothing more to add. If you like what you heard and you're ready to become part of excuse me, let me do that again, y'all. If you like what you heard and you're ready to become part of Team Discipline, go ahead and hit that like button and drop some comments if you're feeling the content. Let me know your thoughts. Ultimately, do you agree with these videos? Where do you see the case going? Do you think they're going to rule in Trump's favor or not? Let me know your thoughts. And last but not least, hit that subscribe button along with the bell so you're notified when I drop new videos. And until next time, my people, take care of yourselves and remember, the power of the mind is valuable.